My name is Pam Murphy. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Infor. We decided to give a bit of diversity and mix today, so I'll be joined by some of my colleagues, and we're going to go through the presentation with you today. So let me introduce them briefly. So first we have Jim Pleward. Jim Pleward heads up our cloud operations organization, and his job is to make sure that the 25 million plus cloud subscribers we have are kept happy. Jim doesn't believe in doing anything manual. And if something has to be done, if something can't be automated, then it really shouldn't exist. And so, as I'm the person writing the checks, that makes him a keeper in my books. Amul Merchant heads up our development operations organization. His job is to make sure that our applications are instrumented to work efficiently in the cloud, and that as much automation as possible is present so that we have as much hands-free operations as possible. And Jim Hoover is our information security officer, and his job is to manage all aspects of security as it relates to the cloud. So between the four of us today, if my clicker will work, which it does not. Okay, let me move these on manually. So between the four of us today, we're going to take you through the four topics on the agenda. So we at Infor, we're not unlike, I'm sure, many of you in this room who need to have efficient and a robust cloud platform on which to deploy your operations. And so what we're going to go through today is our journey, broken down into these four main areas, and we're going to talk you through our journey, how we got there, and the lessons learned along the way. So firstly, I'm going to talk through the innovation that was going on at Infor and how that tied into our journey in the cloud. Then Jim is going to go in and talk about our infrastructure. So I'll talk about it in a minute, but our strategy is around deploying deep, integrated, large solutions suites in the cloud for our customers. And we needed a robust, a scalable, and an efficient architecture that will allow us to kick out these cloud suites at a very fast pace. We have our legacy as being an on-premise applications organization. And so for us, in moving to the cloud, it did require a lot of investment on our part in order to instrument our applications to work efficiently in the cloud. And Amul will talk to considerations that kicked into gear there. And then finally, Jim will talk about security. Security is very important to us. You know, we understand that when customers allow us to put their data in the cloud, they're trusting us with that data, and it's something which we take very seriously. And so Jim is going to talk about our security and how that pertains to our cloud operations today. So before we get started, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes level setting you on who Infor is, in case many of you in the room have not heard of us. So we are an enterprise software vendor that builds purpose-built applications for the industries and microverticals that we serve. So we decided that instead of generating and delivering generic ERP code to be all things to all men, we were going to specialize and focus on certain industries, and we were going to build in the last mile of industry features and functionalities for those industries that we serve so that they had complete solutions and suites in the cloud, avoiding the need for customizations, which, as we all know, is the Achilles heel for an efficient operation in the cloud. We are a $2.8 billion annual revenue company. That's what we generate on an annual basis. We're the third largest enterprise software vendor on the market today. We are a private company. We're headquartered in New York. We have just under 13,000 employees, and about 70% of our people either build, implement, or support our applications. We have over 73,000 customers around the globe. We're present in over 160 countries. Our customers range from Tier 1, Fortune 100 companies at the top end of the spectrum down to startups at the bottom. We do have a legacy in being an on-premise application vendor, but our cloud business is growing substantially. Today we have over 25 million users or subscribers in the cloud. We've seen over on an LTM basis 70% growth in our SaaS bookings in the last 12 months, and in our most recent quarter that was a 3-digit number. So it's a very, very large and growing part of our business, and our install base are moving significantly to the cloud with us. So I just want to spend a minute on strategy because it's relevant to our discussion on cloud and how we are getting there. So the first prong of our strategy is microverticals. And this comes back to what I mentioned about our focus on industry specialization. So we took the view and have the strategy, as I said, of focusing on developing the last mile of functionality for the industries that we serve. And our focus is on building integrated end-to-end solutions that encompass mobile, our social platform Infor Mingle, and industry-specific analytics. The concept of microvertical is important because you can say that you're in the food and beverage industry, but within that industry, if you're a butcher, you have very different requirements to a baker, who has very different requirements to a brewer. And our solution focuses at the microvertical layer to make sure that we're building in all the features and functionalities that those microvertical customers will need and will want. The second prong of our strategy is architecture of the internet. So our strategy was around offering end-to-end suites in the cloud. We needed an integration platform that will allow us to connect these applications and suites together. So what we decided to do in terms of coming up with our architecture for our middleware platform was to take the principles from the internet, arguably, in our view, one of the best applications ever built in terms of it being efficient, durable, open standards. And so our integration platform, ION, is loosely coupled, operates to open standards, and is the means that we use to connect our applications together. It's durable, it's efficient, and it doesn't break. The third prong of our strategy is on focus on the user experience, and a maniacal focus on user experience. So our industry, the enterprise software industry, has been beset, I guess, over the last 20 years of a lack of focus being on user experience. Everything that we see in the consumer world today had not come to the enterprise service space. And so what we decided to do was to focus on user experience. And if you want to focus on it, then it needs to be a core competency. And so what we decided to do is we set up an in-house design agency whose sole focus it was to focus on that user experience. So they're the three prongs of our strategy: industry specialization, focusing at the microvertical level, delivering a beautiful user experience, and leveraging the architecture of the internet in terms of getting us there. So there was a lot of innovation that was going on at Infor. We were building out a beautiful front-end user experience, bringing consumerization to the enterprise software space. We were building integrated, complete industry solutions in the cloud for our healthcare customers, or public sector customers, or hospitality customers, or aerospace and defense customers. We were building out social, mobile, industry-specific analytics, a lot of innovation happening at the application layer. But as we were moving to the cloud and pivoting to the cloud, we needed to do something different. We couldn't just take all of our applications and just throw them on the cloud. That would never work. It was not scalable, it was not durable, and it wasn't efficient. And so we decided we had to invest quite substantially in terms of making our applications work efficiently and effectively in the cloud. And we needed a scalable and we needed a robust platform that would allow us to take our cloud suites and literally be able to get them out to the market fast. We had already implemented and released 12 cloud suites to our customers, and there's a lot more coming in the next 12 months. So we needed a scalable, a durable, and an efficient platform to enable us to get there. So what we did was we set up an Infor Labs function and a DevOps function, and their responsibility was to develop this efficient, scalable, robust platform that would leverage all the cloud suites that we would deliver to our customers, to automate all aspects of the process so that it was essentially hands-free, and also to make sure that as we built new applications going forward, they were designed with a cloud-first principle in their design process. And so one of the first things that Infor Labs and our DevOps function did was they defined all of the criteria that needed to be in place to make the applications work efficiently in the cloud. And what you're seeing here is that list of 15 criteria. I'm not going to go through all of them because Jim is going to touch on them in his section, but I'll pick out a few. And all of these drivers for us, it was not only about cost efficiency, it was not only about making these applications work more efficiently in the cloud, but it was also about making them more stable, making them more secure, and making them more efficient. But cost was an important driver and output, if you will, from this process. So multi-tenancy is an example, probably one of the most talked about cloud criteria, but only one here in our list of 15. We saw that when we moved applications from a single to a multi-tenancy state, we were able to see a 45x reduction in operating cost. Scalability, another important criteria. Jim has this slogan in office which says, scales wide to glide, scale high to die. An important principle we make sure we build into all of our software. Open source technology, another important component. We've partnered with Red Hat and Enterprise DB in order to produce an open source solution that could run cost effectively, and we've worked together with them to create a solution that operates at scale for our enterprise customers who have that very high load requirements at the top end. Things like the OCI layer from Enterprise DB as well as virtualization from Red Hat have enabled us to scale and operate at a fraction of the cost of before. And we've seen 80% reduction in operating cost as a result of moving to such open source technologies. And all of this and all these factors allowed us to generate and create our platform, which is what you're seeing here on the screen. So this is the platform, the robust, scalable architecture that we use to enable us to kick out our solutions to our customers on a very rapid basis. Jim is going to go through this more in his section, but I just want to touch on the bottom layer, the infrastructure layer, and talk a bit about our relationship with AWS. We made the decision very early on that we were in the business of building enterprise applications, and we did not want to be distracted by pipes and feeds and infrastructure. You know, we took the view that if it's not your core competency, don't do it. Partner with somebody whose core competency it is. So it really, for us, was a no-brainer going with AWS. They had so much compute capacity, the range of options in terms of compute, database, and storage that they had available, disaster recovery options. The tooling that they had just far surpassed anybody else that were out there. And so it was a no-brainer to go with them. We've been partnering them for the last number of years, and it's a relationship that has been going very well. I mean, for us, AWS, it gives startups the benefit of being able to operate at the resources that billion-dollar companies can do, but it also allows billion-dollar companies like ourselves to be as nimble as a startup. This clicker. And so this cloud platform, which Jim will go through in more detail, with multiple layers of services on top of us, allows us to do this, which is to kick out our cloud suites to our customers. And for the significance of this is we're not just talking about a little application here that runs Salesforce automation or something here that runs benefits and HR on the web. These are completely integrated end-to-end solutions that these customers can use to run their end-to-end business processes in the cloud. So if you're a healthcare customer, and we have 19 out of 20 of the top US hospitals using our software, 19 of the top 20 aerospace and defense customers use our software, 90% of the Las Vegas Strip is running our software. So where we target and where we operate in those industries, we have incredible penetration within those customer segments. And what you're seeing here today on the screen is a complete integrated solution. Latest release of our applications, always available on the cloud, complete with social, mobile, and industry-specific business analytics. And our install base today have and are moving from their on-premise applications to the Cloud Suite solution. Gives them the latest release of the applications on the latest technology, and having somebody manage it for them is a benefit that they hugely see. So today, from a cloud operations perspective, you know, we are able to, with the platform that you saw and the efficiencies and automations that we've put in place, helped with tools that AWS has given us, as well as some we developed ourselves, has allowed us to generate complete, integrated, end-to-end suites for our healthcare customers, suites for our public sector customers in less than 30 minutes, compared to the weeks it would have taken historically for an on-premise setting customer to be able to do that. And we can also have the benefit of having a single DBA spin hundreds of environments and essentially operate at zero downtime, as has been the case for us in previous quarters. One of the shifts that we've been seeing as a company is, you know, in the past, you know, in the cloud, it's always been about putting Salesforce automation in the cloud, putting HCM in the cloud. But for us today, it's all about, and what we're focusing on, is taking customers' complex business processes and putting them in the cloud. And that's a big shift, because that's moving away from ancillary software to really mission-critical applications being deployed in the cloud. Major analysts are predicting that over 50% of customers will have moved their ERPs to the cloud in the next 3 to 5 years. And to be honest, the rate that we're seeing is even moving faster than that again. And the benefit of this is that, you know, customers such as we have in the defense space, they're going onto our cloud suites not only because of the fact that we offer deep industry-specific features and functionality specific to the defense space, but also because we offer ITAR compliance, which they need from a regulatory perspective. And with our healthcare customers, again, it's not just the features and functions of our software that they get to run their healthcare operations, but they also get the benefit of that solution being ITAR compliant. So we have seen a massive shift to the cloud, unprecedented, to be honest with you, and it's going to continue. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim now to talk to us about our cloud architecture in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Pam. Get the clicker. All right. My name is Jim Plord, and as Pam said, I'm VP of Cloud Services, and I manage all of our multi-tenant operations at N4. Let's see if I can get this clicker to work. No luck. try the old-fashioned way. Here we go. All right. As Pam pointed out, I mean, we have been in the cloud for almost 15 years with some of our products, some of our SaaS solutions. So these are true multi-tenant SaaS solutions. Some of them have been there since 15 years. Some of them are relatively new. And as we look at our portfolio, we had decided that we wanted to follow the market, be able to serve our customers better, more efficiently, et cetera. And we wanted to migrate all of our solutions into the cloud. Now, for some of these, this required some refactoring. Others, it involves some tweaks to the architectural underpinnings, but in all cases, some changes had to be made. And as we looked at what the world might look like with going on 50 different SaaS solutions, multi-tenant SaaS solutions, all running in our traditional colo on our own equipment, heavily virtualized, so we've been virtualizing for a very long time. But still, it looked quite daunting from a load predictability perspective, ability to meet demand quickly. I mean, everything that was talked about this morning, and weeks to get servers, as opposed to minutes to deploy something on Amazon. It became very, very clear that we needed something different, and Amazon was the clear choice for reasons you guys probably all know. So as we looked at how we wanted to deploy on Amazon, we decided, very early on that we wanted to take a very services-oriented approach to things. We saw what Amazon was doing. We've been working with them for probably about 5 years now. We liked how they were deploying their own services. We decided basically just to try to mimic that. So, what you see on this slide is Pam pointed out earlier, on the bottom tier, I mean, it's just simply the infrastructure layer. On the next tier is all the Amazon services, and these are some of the services that we're using. At the next tier, I mean, this is where we start augmenting some of what Amazon doesn't have today, that we needed analogs for either legacy reasons because an application needed X, Y, or Z, or because we just needed something to replace what we had in the data center. So we created our own services layer using Amazon services straight up in some cases, in other cases a combination of Amazon services, and in some cases creating our own. All with an eye, though, of replacing them with Amazon services as time goes by and Amazon makes some of these services I've been beating Ari on available for us. So at the next layer, this is where the applications start coming in as a service themselves, basically riding on this entire platform. And finally, at the top layer, as Pam pointed out, this is where we're able to integrate them by suites. So if you look at the applications tier there, I mean, it's just all very deep domain expertise on how to do certain verticals. So we don't have just one ERP solution, we have many, and they're all tuned specifically for certain industries. So what the suites actually become at the top tier is really nothing more than some configuration per tenant that says, this tenant is in this suite, so they get this product, this product, this product, this product. Oh, by the way, this customer wants this option, so plug that one in too. And then the integration using our Ion solution, which is our own integration solution, allows us to tie everything together from an integration perspective. So it works quite well, and we're very excited about it. So, as far as the topology goes, I mean, if you've been to any of the Amazon boot classes, I mean, they drill this into you, and we've basically followed the book. We did a lot of experimentation. We kicked around a lot of ideas on how to go about this, and this is basically what we settled on. So for each Amazon region, we have one VPC, essentially, until we fill up whatever metric says, well, we can't put any more of this, that, or the other in there. Then we will add a second VPC in that region and then use VPC peering to tie them together. But for all intents and purposes, we treat a VPC just like a data center. So the data center has any number of products in it. We spread all the products across multiple AZs, and this provides a number of things. It provides us our traditional high availability fault tolerance. So if a server, has an issue, it can fail over either within that AZ or even into another AZ. And then something that we always had to spend a fortune on in the past in setting up, some data center, way off in the wilderness that never got used, by the way, and that is for disaster recovery. So in this case, we're leveraging Amazon's capability to essentially provide both the production site and DR capability in one. And the more you spread that out, the more cost effective it becomes. So we generally spread everything out across 3 AZs so that we can withstand not only a server failure, but we can withstand a whole failure of an AZ or a failure of a data center, a failure of a PDU, or whatever. So we're very happy with the topology. For each application, we've put it in a separate subnet so they kind of live in their own little world, sort of, from a network perspective. And then we use security groups to give us the normal segmentation that we would use in a colo to segment things by subnet. So it's similar to what we would do in the colo, but in other areas, very, very different. All right, so some of the critical considerations. I mean, high availability. I mean, these are multi-tenant solutions. So when they go down, it doesn't affect just one customer. They can affect thousands of customers. And if you want a really bad day, have 1,000 customers yelling at you all at the same time, it's not a good day. So we don't like that. So we build everything with no single points of failure. We try to root out every single point of failure we can find and build high availability in for that. As I mentioned, we have disaster recovery built right into the platform. That was very important, as Pam was joking about, except she's not kidding, and my guys will tell you that. I believe in automating everything for a couple reasons. One, comes to mind, well, hey, it's going to save you time. You won't have to hire nearly as many people, et cetera, et cetera. That's true. But what's more important to me is that it becomes basically the spec. So the automation that you create becomes the spec for your deployment. So if you have a problem with your deployment, you don't go in there and fix the server, which is a one-time event that you have to remember to do next time. You fix the spec. And if you fix the spec, when we go to deploy to additional regions on Amazon or even further patches, et cetera, then it's fixed once. As opposed to having the same mistakes made more than one time in some cases. As Pam also said, I mean, we also believe in scaling wide. We try to avoid any situations where we have to continue to scale high. The one area that's always a challenge, I'm sure all of you know, in the case of an enterprise solution, is the relational database. So we're very excited to hear about Aurora this morning. So we'll be taking a really close look at that. And then finally, to augment what we can provide and what Amazon provides, we also look at third-party tooling where we need it. So some of the third-party tooling that we're using, this isn't the be-all, end-all list, but we're using PagerDuty for our round-the-clock alerting. We use Trend Micro to enhance our security capabilities and the security capabilities that are already in Amazon, which we also leverage heavily. We use Boundary, gives us really good network visibility of what's going on. In our own colo, that was a big difference. I mean, we owned all the network devices. We could see exactly what's going on between point A and point B. In Amazon, it's a little different than that. So Boundary actually gives us that visibility, maybe even better than what we had before. We're using Sumo Logic for our log aggregation and analysis and even alerting off of logs. It's really good. And Dynatrace gives us a way to really troubleshoot what's going on end-to-end in a very robust fashion. Gives us a lot of great detail. And with that, I will pass the baton to Amul, who will talk about some of the things we considered as we were moving our solutions into the cloud.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
My name is Amul Merchant. I lead the DevOps team at Infor, and I basically automate, hopefully satisfy Jim's quest for automation in every aspect of cloud deployment and management. We're running a little bit into time crunch, so we'll try to see if we can optimize and skip a couple of slides that may not be that relevant. But as Pam mentioned, we are well into our cloud journey. We have significant cloud experience in number of customers and number of applications that we have running in the cloud. So what I wanted to do was to share our experience that we have gained by migrating some of these applications that were previously on-prem, and then we migrated them to cloud, and what are the considerations that we kept in mind as we migrated these applications to the cloud. Motivations for moving applications to the cloud, obviously the elasticity and flexibility and agility that the Amazon cloud provides, Amazon Web Services provides. This was an important consideration for us. The global reach of Amazon with its number of data centers worldwide was another important consideration for us picking the Amazon Web Services. As we pick any application and migrate them to the cloud, we take a step-by-step approach towards migrating the application. And I'll go walk through some of these steps in more detail to give you some color as to what were the metrics that we decided as we moved application to the cloud. First thing we did was assess the application, decided what kind of workloads was this application, is this application going to be subjected to. There are some applications that are inherently well suited for AWS, applications that require high fluctuations in demand, seasonal variations or monthly periodic variations like scheduling applications. Those are ideally suited for Amazon. Then there are some applications which you may want to consider tweaking before moving to AWS, like those applications which require high amount of data to be moved between the on-premise and the cloud with low latency, or applications that require a highly available shared storage or a SAN environment. So those are some of the considerations in deciding whether an application is even suitable for migrating to the AWS. Once you've decided which application can be migrated to the cloud, the other considerations, a cost-benefit analysis should be done to decide whether you have the skill set to manage these applications, what will be the cost of running the application in the cloud, what's the market, what does the market look like for the competitors offering this product, and how will this application be able to meet the market requirements in both in terms of SLAs as well as in pricing. Service level agreements regarding security, privacy, the compliance requirements should be kept in mind as you decide whether an application is suitable to be moved to the cloud. And the business impact of moving the application to the cloud should as well be considered, whether to make a final choice, whether to move this application to the cloud or not. The step 3 is deciding what's the technical approach towards migrating an application to the cloud. So we consider 3 different technical approaches. The first approach is cloud hosted. This is the most simplest, just lift and shift, take the application as it is and move it to the cloud. It's the least labor intensive, and most likely will require minimum amount of effort as you move the application to the cloud, but will also result in minimal amount of benefit in terms of cost optimization or the cost of running the application in the cloud. The next level is the cloud optimized, where you take an existing application, look at its architecture, tweak it if necessary. In some cases, you may find that the application is already well architected for the cloud. It's not going to leverage all the features that Amazon has. For example, you might still be using your own queuing service that you deploy to the cloud. You might use your own workflow service instead of using the Amazon provided services because you're trying to make minimum changes to the application. In this case, the application can still be migrated to the cloud, and we can get great savings and great cost benefits. And there are some applications that fit well in category. This requires, depending on the original architecture of the application, this might require medium to high effort. Some applications may require less effort if they were originally well architected and suitable for the cloud. The last is the most optimized application, which is the cloud native, where the application is inherently built for the cloud, leverages all the great features that AWS has, the elasticity, the scalability of all the various services, whether it's simple workflow service, simple queue service, email service. So reusing all the native features of the cloud, and the application can almost scale infinitely wide because it's been designed inherently for the cloud. The cost benefits are significant, though the cost to rewrite the application, in most cases this might involve rewriting the application or doing some significant surgery to the architecture of the application. So this will require a high amount of effort. At Infor, as we engage with different application team, we used a scorecard to determine how the application is, how ready it is for cloud. And typically this engagement with different application team, Infor has a large number of applications, and as we said, we go through this step-by-step procedure for determining if the application is suitable for the cloud. One of the first things that we do is engage with the development team to do a deep dive on the architecture and determine what are the gaps or what are the plus as far as the multi-tenant, the scalability, the high availability features of the application are concerned. And we do a gap analysis and find out if there are any gaps that need to be addressed. Jim and I then work with the dev team to identify a high-level plan to figure out how those gaps can be addressed through some architecture tweaks, hopefully with minimal effort, sometimes requiring major surgery. We also work with the dev teams to make sure that automation and all the various aspects of good DevOps are included right from the initial initiation of the project, rather than as an afterthought. Because in our experience, what we have found is when you try to incorporate these, the automation of deployment of the application, the automation of monitoring of the application as an afterthought, it doesn't result in such a great end result. So we try to incorporate right into the development lifecycle the automation of the application. Through this scorecard, what we are trying to do is move all the Infor applications to cloud native. We have a large number of applications already that are running in Infor Cloud that are cloud native, built for the cloud. They run in the web scale. They can scale very, very wide and handle millions of transactions per minute. One of the other factors that you may want to consider as you bring an application to the cloud is the integration approach. Not only the data integration, so what are the data integration requirements? How does this application need to integrate with other cloud applications, other on-prem applications? What is the latency requirements for those? How tolerant are the end users to see the latency of the data being moved from one application to another? But also consider the aspects of workflow across applications and the UI integration. So how do these applications that are sitting in different, whether running on hybrid mode or cloud or on-premise, how will they be visually integrated to present a common UI to the end users? So to talk about step 5, which is security, I invite Jim Hoover. He's the Chief Security Officer for Infor, and he's going to talk about security. Thank you.
Chief Security Officer.
Make sure my mic's working. Thank you. They have to switch it. There we go. Got it? Yep. Great. Thank you. Thanks. So I'm Jim Hoover, the Information Security Officer for Infor. I'm here to talk about security. Just because you're putting something to the cloud, doesn't mean you get to forget about security, putting it into the cloud. Within AWS, they do a lot of the aspects, but we need to worry about your regulatory and contractual concerns. In our case, we have many customers with numerous types of data, and they all have different types of regulations associated with it. So we have to be pretty broad on what we're concerned about. We also have contractual concerns. The typical, make sure you have reasonable security in place questions, and the hundreds of security questions that go along with that. We have the U, meaning the implementer of the product, versus what AWS is responsible for. You have to be considerate of that. You have to consider that. You have to have layered defenses. We're going to talk about that, how you design that for security. And then we're going to talk about tools and partners that we use at Infor to bring this around. So from a compliance and regulatory perspective, there are challenges. You will have to decide on the framework you're going to use. And just because you're putting it to the cloud doesn't mean you get to forget about this. You have to put something in place. You have an information security management system has to be put up, or an information security plan that needs to be established. That needs to be done by your information security office. We have two groups. We have an information security office, and we have a cloud-based group, so they can focus on those aspects. You have to choose your framework. ISO 27001 works well from an international perspective. The NIST assessments, NIST assortments of standards work well from a DoD perspective. We use both of those. COBIT is more focused on the business focus of things, and so it's kind of encapsulated in those two. So ISO 27001 is pretty much our focus. Then we have the controls. You have ISO 27002, which defines many different controls, and it's based on risk. NIST 853 has many controls, and that's based on low, moderate, or high risk associated with your environment. So you need to decide what controls you're going to put in place, and we use ISO 27002 and NIST 853 to prove we've got that in place. Then the types of data, payment card industry data, personal health information for HIPAA requirements, you have to consider that. I try to force our guys in development to stay away from handling credit card information. That's not a core competency. Huge liability associated with it. Push that to someone that can handle that and are experts at it. Again, back to Pam's comments, do what you do best. If it's not a core competency, let somebody else do it. You have privacy regulations. Safe Harbor handles the EU data protection acts associated with that. There's a whole lot of confusion and pushback about Safe Harbor, the NSA, the CIA, spying on everybody. But from my take, your EU data is safer in the US than it is in the EU because the NSA and CIA have restrictions what they can do in the US and gather things. If it's in the EU, there are no restrictions. They can hammer away at it all they want. Making things more complex from a privacy perspective, 47 different state privacy laws just in the US. You have to be an expert in each one of those. And then we have the Canadian data controls. There's a lot of confusion about what data in Canada can be put where it can be stored, et cetera. British Columbia has a law that if it's Canadian data and it's a public entity, it has to be stored in Canada. A lot of people took that to mean all districts are the same, and they're not. So we have experts in that. But you'll have to understand those issues. So AWS Cloud, that means you have a shared responsibility. The bottom layer, they take care of the infrastructure. They take care of storage. They take care of the compute environment. They handle making sure they are compliant to that. A lot of people take their long list of compliance certifications to mean it's done. We're done. We just put it AWS, we don't do anything. Well, that's not true. You have to have your own aspects. And the N4's responsibility is the next layer up. That's the applications. That's making sure your developers are developing secure code following secure development frameworks out there. Making sure your operating systems are hardened. Making sure you have CIS security benchmarks being run against them. Make sure you're running vulnerability scans, penetration testing. We have to take care of that, or you have to take care of that when you move your application to the cloud. The architectural layers in compliance, as I mentioned before, AWS has this huge list of requirements and certifications that they're meeting. The next level up is where N4 plays. We're already HIPAA compliant. We have an HIPAA compliant attestation from our auditors in our healthcare platform, N4 Cloud Suite healthcare platform. We perform SSAE 16s, used to be known as SOC 1s. We're focused on ISO 27001 compliance, doing certification soon. PCI, FIPS 140-2. I won't go through all these because there's quite a few of them. But we have a focus on addressing each of those you see in the middle section and more. We're continually growing. And then at the top section are the products. Some products have to be certified to those requirements, and they get plugged into this environment. So our defense in-depth methodology, and you've all seen this before, but it doesn't go away just because you won't move to the cloud. You have application security, network security, physical security. Fortunately, Amazon takes care of most of that. So you may get some pushback that Amazon does not allow you to visit their physical facilities. They have hundreds of thousands of customers. It just wouldn't work out. So just be aware of that. Operation security and monitoring. So, and nothing different from what you're doing today, probably. And then we have to design for security. Understand exactly what data is being put out there. Map the data to the security classification associated with it. Identify the privacy concerns associated with it. We find that to be one of the most challenging issues. Examine the applicable regulations. Make sure that applications aren't sharing data without understanding what type of data is being shared and what the restrictions are on sharing that data. If you have application A moving PHI data, application B doesn't realize that was PHI data, you don't want to get that HIPAA certification or compliance requirement lost. So make sure you understand that. And design how to authenticate and authorize users. Not just from the application user perspective, but your individuals managing the cloud. You need to authenticate and authorize those users effectively. And here's my last slide, talking about some of our tools and partners. And you've seen these same tools mentioned in previous slides, and Sumo Logic, CloudTrail, Amazon S3. We have workspaces we use extensively, dual security for two-factor authentication, cohesive FT for VPNs. Then on the far left, the big guy, Trend Micro, we utilize the heck out of Trend Micro Deep Security to provide all of those aspects that you see. And then we rely on other tools. If we have an issue we have to dig deep into, and Jim or Amul has a tool that picked up that data, we'll dig deep into that data utilizing their tools. Okay. And with that, I'll bring Pam back.
Clicker. So it's pretty hard to condense years of grit and spit and grunt into a 45-minute session to portray our cloud journey. So we're going to scoot off to the Q&A room, wherever that is, for anybody who's got any questions for us, or have you've got any specific, circumstances or areas in which you'd like us to talk to our experiences. We'd be more than happy to take them. So we'll be in the Q&A room. And even if you don't have any questions, we're always looking for good people. So come talk to us as well. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Much appreciated.